Backyard Brawl Day, guys. Are y'all ready? Let's go. Let's get some football going on. Hey, guess what? We have some great guests that are up in Morgantown right now. Um, so first off, let me start with this. I'm Joy Foster. I'm gonna be your host tonight for the pregame and also the postgame. So after this game, be sure and tune back in right here on the Voice of College Football, West Virginia football at the Voice of College Football, and we'll have a postgame show. But we have several people up in Morgantown. I had a small back surgery on Thursday, so I wasn't able to make the trip to Morgantown this week. But we have several people up there, and one of them's calling in with us right now, and that is Mr. Frank Beer. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. This is a wild scene, Joey, I'll tell you.
I'm sure it is, man. I'm sure it is. So, can you gauge by the crowd of how many people are probably there that won't get in the game?
That's a good question. Obviously, a lot of people are tailgating. In fact, I can give the audience a little glimpse of that right now.
Okay. Yeah, so you're right there at the hospital. I see the hospital, which means the stadium is behind him. Yeah.
Yeah, right there, and at the northwest gate, they're keeping people from getting in. They're starting right now, so people are finally have an opportunity to get in the stadium, and this game means so much to West Virginia, so much to the state, not just the university, and you could just feel the electricity here.
Yeah, I know it. I'm excited about tonight's game. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people saying Pitt's going to win this game. I think the FPI for ESPN gives West Virginia like a 35% chance to win this game is all. But you know, well, let me. I don't know. Let me just say this. I think after watching the Penn State game and then last week's game, this West Virginia team's pretty solid. I mean, they're not now, mind you, they're not Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State or any of those teams by far, right? They're not even TCU of last year, but they're not the last place team in the Big 12, and they can take care of business tonight with Pitt. And I feel like we're going to take care of business tonight with Pitt, and I think we'll take care of it in a big way.
Well, I agree with you. I think that there was an awful lot of negativity about the team going in, as you mentioned. A couple of scribes picked West Virginia last in the Big 12. But, what's interesting, and I don't bet, but you mentioned the ESPN index that basically says gives Pitt a 65% chance. On the betting side, the line has gone from -one and a half Pitt to right now it's -2.5 West Virginia. And I agree with you. In fact, one of the things I did was to go to the Cincinnati Enquirer on Sunday, Monday, and read about what the sports reporters were saying there about how did Cincinnati literally dismantle Pitt up in Pittsburgh last week. And if I'm Neil Brown, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that pattern because it worked. It worked for Cincinnati. And the bottom line is the kinds of things that the reporters in Cincinnati were writing about fit West Virginia really well. And so, it's more than hopeful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that I think we're a better team than a lot of people are giving us credit for. I'm not saying we're the best on defense. I'm kind of worried about our secondary, but Pitt didn't show me a daggone thing last week against Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati could be good. We can't discount that Cincinnati's not good. Cincinnati is a good team, but Cincinnati has no business beating Pitt, and they beat Pitt up pretty bad. Now Pitt was able to come back. They didn't get the victory, but they were able to come back in that game. So West Virginia can't let their guard down tonight. If we get up 27-7 or something like that, we can't let our guard down and let them come back on us. We've got to keep pounding and grinding it out. And I think C.J. Donaldson and Johnson and those running backs could have a really big game today against Pitt.
Yeah, I agree completely. In fact, that's one of the things that the reporters in Cincinnati talked about, and that is the formula for Cincinnati was run and establish a primary runner. And also the same thing with a wideout. And the other thing I think is really important about this is that they have really not, West Virginia has really not featured Donaldson yet this year. A bit against Penn State, but certainly not against Duquesne. So this is his game. And the other thing that they said up in Cincinnati is the importance of the tight ends. And boy, do we have that a great tight end transfer from LSU that is a big body, and
Yeah.
that fits in, I think, to another weakness that I see in Pitt, and that is that their line and linebackers. The number one tackler last week was a defensive guy. And, when that happens, that doesn't say good things. And on the other hand, West Virginia has been limiting other teams to about 75 yards a game. So that offensive line we have, coupled with the defensive line that really has stepped up. We expected the offensive line to be really good. In fact, what, three members of that team are preseason All Big 12. But it's the defensive line and the linebackers that came through. I mean, Penn State could not run against the Mountaineers. They just couldn't. And
Right.
so Pitt will try that. But if you look at the stats, the runners have not been very effective this season. So either Pitt's got to come out and do something that they haven't done, multiple things, and do it consistently and well. But if I'm betting on the game, I would take West Virginia because I think they've already shown in a variety of areas, a variety of positions. Plus, Pitt has a statue-like quarterback in Jakovic, and we have a Garrett Green who is grading out really well in the games, very highly in the country, and so his legs plus his passing accuracy, that again is something that Pitt hasn't shown on their side. So I think that's one of the reasons, or a couple of the reasons, why there's a lot of enthusiasm here.
Yeah, and we're talking about the two tight ends. Now we have a receiving tight end and we have a blocking tight end, and so if you put them both in the game, and you have 13 personnel out there. That means you could run the ball or pass the ball, either one. Run the ball, and you have some good blocks, and you have a big blocker up front with the tight end. You can pass that ball to the other tight end. That's the receiving tight end. So I'm happy about that, and I'm excited to have two really good, talented tight ends in their own right. One's really good at blocking. One's really good at receiving. So I'm happy
Yeah,
about that.
Cole. I think that Cole Taylor, this could be a real breakout game for him. I mean, this guy's clearly an NFL. Uh, if he's not first round, I'd be shocked. He's got everything, all the tools that pro scouts look for in a tight end. And you're right. They again, use Cincinnati used multiple tight ends, um, and so I think again that's an advantage to West Virginia.
Yeah. And special thanks out to Jackson in the chat comments down here. He's tweeted my Twitter account or X account, whatever it is, and also yours as well. But then he says Pitt played down to Cincy. They were thinking more about West Virginia than they were Cincinnati. Do you think that's true? Do you think they were looking ahead to West Virginia?
Well, I'll tell you one thing: I never second guess Jackson. He's one smart dude. I think if they didn't play down to Cincinnati, they overestimated their own capacity. That this would be an
Yeah.
easy game. Like, you know, if you look at the record, and I have, as you know, we talked about this before on air. Cincinnati over the last 5 years has won, between 70 and 80% of its games. Now, granted, the coach leaves and goes to Wisconsin, so you've got Satterfield coming in from Louisville, but you've got many of the same players. You've got the culture in place, and they look, in my opinion, they look mid-season form up in Pittsburgh last week, and Pittsburgh really didn't. So I think Jackson may have a point.
Yeah. So I see the blue skies behind you, a little bit of clouds, but it's a beautiful day in
Yep.
Morgantown. Should be a beautiful night for a night game and stuff. I'm sure you're bundled up a little bit though, right? It's probably going to get a little chilly Probably about the fourth quarter, I'd say. It's probably going to be a little chilly if I'm walking down.
Yeah, it's going to get down into the 50s. They're talking about. So I've got my. I'm all ready to put the long sleeve on. But right now, it's people are in shorts and looking around, and the first group has gone into the stadium, but like often happens at major university games, there's no rush. I mean, kickoff is still an hour and 20 minutes away. So there are a lot of folks still enjoying themselves, maybe imbibing a brew or two, and just enjoying the beautiful night. But it's going to get down to 57, 58 by the time this one's over.
Yeah, yeah. So I went through today and I was watching some video clips, and I want to play a video clip. I want to play two video clips. One, they're both about 30 seconds long. So let's take about 1 minute here and play these two video clips. I want everybody to see some of these picks for West Virginia and Pitt. So let's just watch a couple of these video clips real quick.
I got to say, they were a lot better than I thought they were. And I think against this Pitt offense, which I was really not impressed with against Cincinnati, I think they're really gonna have no problem whatsoever. We know one thing about playing in Morgantown. I've been to a lot of college football stadiums, and I got to say, this is one of the tougher buildings out there, man. This is not a place where you want to be the visiting team. That's for sure. I'm going to take West Virginia in this one, and that's going to be my free pick.
Right now, 60% of the bets are on West Virginia. I am running a poll for people who are watching live. 61% of the people watching also favor West Virginia.
Okay.
The sharps are on West Virginia. Again, the people who pay the bills with these bets are on West Virginia, which means obviously I'm staying with Pitt.
Yeah.
I am going against the public and against the people who supposedly know what they're doing. This is probably my last ride with the Pitt Panthers.
All right, so you had one for West Virginia there, one for Pitt. But, I think every odds maker will tell you this game's a toss-up. Just throw it up in the air and flip a coin as to who's going to win it. And that's where you place your bet. But I don't look at it that way. I really believe West Virginia is the far better team here over Pitt. And I don't think that it's even going to be that close of a game. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be a game. It's going to be a good game, no doubt about it. It's a rivalry game, But I could see the final score being something in the neighborhood of 31-17, 34-21, something like that in favor of West Virginia. I do not see a 34-31 or 37-34 score at all this year. I just think it's going to be a little bit further distance. I think West Virginia will win it big.
Well, let me agree with that, what you just said, Joey, but with two caveats. And anybody who's followed Pitt this year, anybody who's followed West Virginia, I don't think would find what I'm going to say is shocking. On the Pitt side, you've got a quarterback who is big. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", about 250, but he's not quick. He's slow, and so that means that the West Virginia front line and linebackers, I expect to see a lot of four-man blitzes like Cincinnati, the Bearcats did last week, because you got to get this guy riled. People have to go back and remember that this quarterback, Jerkovic, this is his third school. He started at Notre Dame, then went to Boston College. Now he's at Pitt because Ibu Slovis, the quarterback last year, is now the starting quarterback at BYU. That's the NIL and portal situation for you. But he has about 5,500 yards over the 2.5 years that he has essentially been either the primary signal caller or, basically a solid backup, but mostly as a starter. So you got to rile him. If you give him time, he's an accurate passer. And that brings in another piece on the West Virginia side, and that is the secondary. I was pleased to see that the secondary graded out much better against Duquesne. It was, I don't want to use the word pitiful, but there was one D-back that was graded out in the 20s, the free safety, and you just can't have that. So I think I'm looking for the keys to me. I think to reinforce support your prediction is the defensive line and linebackers giving Jerkovic trouble, and then second, not giving up long plays by our secondary guys.
Yeah, that is going to be a key to the game. I mean, like I was saying before, I'm kind of worried about our secondary, but I'm not so worried about Pitt's passing game right now. I mean, I'm just not. Yes, they're going to get some yards. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think they're going to move the ball enough to to make a difference down the field. I don't see them breaking down the field. Penn State got a couple of nice passes down the field on us, right? Our defensive secondary broke down a couple of times with Penn State. Once the first touchdown pass that Penn State caught, actually, the defender made a great play on the ball. He almost got
Just
the ball
fell.
and knocked it down. And he sold out, right? He was by himself and he sold out for the ball. I can't blame him for that. I mean, it just happens, and the Penn State receiver ended up running down the field for a touchdown. That was a stinger, but I can't fault him because the defense was there. I mean, he was right there at the
Yeah,
ball and could have made a
yeah,
play and unfortunately just missed it. So I don't
yeah.
think Pitt has that capability like Penn State had.
Well, two things I would say in response to that. I agree with you. Is that uh, what the fans should look for tonight? You don't want to hear the name Audrey Burks uh, in relationship to a slip up. He's the free safety. He's got to play much better than he had against Penn State consistently, and he showed that against Duquesne, which is a positive thing. The other thing that shocked me when I looked at the stats, Joey, is that, as you know, I was at Michigan State for a number of years, over 3 decades, and Pat Narduzzi was the defensive coordinator for a number of years there, an outstanding defensive coordinator. And when I looked at the stats and found that in 2 games this year, Pitt is gaining more yards through the air than on the ground, it was shocking to me. So the point is, they're relying on their passing game. Well, in Boston College, they had to because, against Cincinnati, they had to because Cincinnati got off to a fast start. And you're right, they, they could have won that game because they came back. And then Cincinnati's defense stiffened. So they had to pass a lot. So the question is, my guess is tonight he is going to try to, Narduzzi that is going to try to establish running. And yet, as I said earlier, West Virginia giving up 75 yards on average, already having faced one of the country's best rushing teams in Penn State. I think we'll see if he can do it. So I think there are keys to the game that won't take until the third quarter to see how things are shaking out. I think we'll know by the middle end of the first quarter how these things, which direction they're going.
I agree. I agree. Speaking with Frank Fear, if you guys do not know who Frank Fear is, Frank has a great book, and I do not have the link to that book, but I'm going to find the link to that book and put it up here before I ever talk about that. So, ignore that I said that because I want a proper introduction to Frank Fear and his book and everything. But Jackson Johnson is saying this: if this game was at Pitt, it would be tough for me to see WVU win this one. But because it's in Morgantown, I see this being a close victory for West Virginia, and it will also buy Neil Brown some time. So I want to take that into a question. If West Virginia loses the backyard brawl tonight, does Neil Brown coach next week?
I think he does, but I think the long-term possibilities and prospects aren't very good. Someone said about a week or so ago that hope is not a strategy, and that's right. But when you think about the fact that Texas Tech has struggled in the first 2 games, in home games. Now, obviously, they played a very, very tough team last week in Oregon, but they lost in the first game that they shouldn't have lost to. They're coming in next week, and so I've said to people, I would not be at all surprised if West Virginia is in the middle of a 3-game winning streak with Duquesne, Pitt, and Texas Tech coming in next week.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. But one of the other things I think that's really important about that, Joey, is to answer the question, the Pac-12 has started the season on fire, and the Big 12, which was considered to be right there with the SEC in terms of top conferences, has really struggled so far this year.
Yeah, and
Baylor,
Kansas State
wow.
lost today. Kansas State
You know,
lost
I
today too.
did. Oh my God, I didn't know that. That to me, it's shocking. So what I always tell people is don't look at the one instance, look for a pattern. And what we have in place now, and remember, Kansas State won the regular season Big 12 championship last year. TCU went to the college football playoff, but Kansas State won it. So I think we're seeing a pattern emerging early season that the Big 12 may not be as strong as the pundits thought, which plays in West Virginia's hands because my take is, and obviously I'm a homer, I think West Virginia is stronger than a lot of the pundits were when they expressed their opinions. I think we're much stronger than that.
Yeah. Well, Frank, now I don't want to hold you up from your seats because you're outside the stadium, and I know you still got to get through the line and get in there and get your seats. Why don't you go do that? Call us back when you have your seat if you're able to call us back, and we'll talk some more. But I want you to be able to get in your seat and get ready for this game. Backyard Brawl, West Virginia Pitt. Hey, there's not a bigger game on West Virginia's schedule as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'll do that. And for fans who don't know about this, this is the 106th time these two teams are coming together. And Pitt has a sizable margin, but when I went back and looked at why, there was a period from a century ago for about 30 years where Pitt won every single game except 3. So since then, this competition, this big rivalry, has been pretty much even Steven, but it's been disrupted because of the conference changes with Pitt going to the ACC and West Virginia going to the Big 12. So it's great that this is the second game of the renewal because they hadn't played since 2011. And so I'll go to my seats and give you a call a little bit.
Okay, Frank. Hey, one more thing before you go, though. So also that 30-year period, I think Pitt had like 13 home games in a row. They were all played at Pitt. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. They didn't play for I think 3 years during the war, second year war, but once they turned into the 50s, Pappy Lewis and so on and so forth, West Virginia's held its own, and actually WVU has won 6 out of the last 10 of the games. And anybody who watched the game last year, we should have won that game up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So, but even though we lost that game, the last 10 have been WVU 6.
Yep. All right, Frank, go get your seat, man. Call us back if you can. We love you, brother.
Okay.
Have fun. Have fun.
Yeah.
Let's go Mountaineers, baby.
Yeah, always an honor and a pleasure, Joey. You take care.
Thanks, Frank. Okay, next up, we've got Mr. Nick DTV coming in here. What's going on, Nick?
What's up, baby?
You ready for some football?
Damn right, man. Look, I got my Country Roads gear. Got that Country Roads, baby. Yes, sir.
So I have dropped the StreamYard link. If anybody would like to come in and join us and talk, and let's talk about the Backyard Brawl and give us your prediction, give us your score prediction for this game, that'd be awesome. I mean, I know one thing, Nick. I am fired up. I have been smiling ear to ear since I woke up this morning. I'm excited, man. I am fired up.
Man, you don't even know half of it, man. I'm ready to go. I've been ready to go since I've been ready to go since off season, but I've been really ready to go since last week, man.
So funny story. My wife and I, this is my second wife, but we got married back in 2000. And it took her one college football season to realize that I would destroy everything in the house during a college football game with West Virginia involved. And so I went out, I think it was 2002 or 2003. They came out with the brand new 74-inch big screen TV, and it was a floor model, of course, in 2004 or 2003, whenever it was. And so, and I paid big money for this thing. I made thousands of dollars for this TV. And game one, I picked up a recliner and threw it at that TV, and it fell short. It fell short of the TV. The recliner did. But my wife decided then she had to come up with a solution. So she took balls of aluminum foil and balls of paper, and before every game, she would fill me up like about 6 bowls of aluminum foil balls and paper balls. and set them beside me so I could throw them at the screen, and the players make a bad game. And I wasn't going to hurt the TV with a piece of paper or a piece of aluminum foil, And I'm sitting there slinging these things. And it was the last game of the season in 2007. And I was still watching that same TV in 2007, West Virginia Pitt. That TV didn't survive that game.
Oh, man.
That TV did not survive the backyard brawl in 2007. So, now today, fast forward 20 years, I'm a little bit more mature than that and don't throw things at TVs anymore. Although, you know what? Today might be the day if West Virginia doesn't come out and play their best and shows us what they can do against a Pitt team that's struggling right now, to say the least.
A little story about that game. So I was 7 years old, and I had just started following college football. And like I said, I was only 7, so I didn't know all the ins and outs. I knew we were good. And coming into that game, I remember I didn't have much to worry about. And I remember watching that game, and it's blurred because I was such a kid, but I remember a few distinct factors. I remember Pat White with that big ass little cast he had on his thumb. That massive cast. I remember that. And I just remember my dad. And like I said, I didn't know what was going on, but I just remember my dad was just in shock and just pissed off. And I could tell from him, he went to bed early that night. He went to bed early. He was tired. He was pissed off or upset about the game. And I remember I tried to watch it through, and I was just, as a young football fan, that gave me the most sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
All to, be revived when we played in the Fiesta Bowl, and that kind of emotion and that kind of turnaround that I experienced as a young kid just really shaped me into the football fan I am today. So I am kind of grateful for that game, even though it was very awful. But
so there's an interesting fact about 2006 and 2007. So in 2007, of course, West Virginia, number 2 team in the country, going to play for national championship, just needed to beat Pitt, 24-point favorites against Pitt, 24.5-point favorites against Pitt, and lost the game 13-9. Meanwhile, in 2006, USC, exact same time, exact same day, pretty much. From 2006, USC played UCLA, 24.5-point favorites, number 2 in the country, would have played for the national championship had they won that game, and they lost the game 13-9. So 2006, USC goes down 13-9 to UCLA, and USC was 24.5-point favorites. 2007, West Virginia goes down to Pitt, who West Virginia was 24.5-point favorites. Both of them by a score of 13-9. So, and a lot of people don't remember that 2006 year. They'll remember the West Virginia, especially Mountaineers. We all remember that, but yeah, any college football fan will remember USC was pretty good in 2006 as well, and got knocked out by a UCLA team that should have never knocked them out. So that's the college football world we live in. I mean, look, Georgia was struggling the first half of today's game, right? I think Georgia's since taken the lead. Kansas State lost today. There are teams that are struggling that shouldn't be struggling. Penn State took care of business with Illinois. Figured that would happen. It's pretty much the same score as the West Virginia-Illinois game, except Illinois didn't play near as good as West Virginia against Penn State. I don't think. It was a good game, but it wasn't near the game that West Virginia and Penn State was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to pick your brain about that real quick. I think defensively, Illinois kind of played better than us, and that kind of caused me some concern. But you can't really, we as college football, we try to put 2 and 2 together. It's not always like that,
Yeah.
Some games, every game is different. they're at an away game. It's just they've had a couple of games under the belt. It's a different atmosphere, and
Yeah.
Now I do think it gave me some hope. See, the opposite, it gave me some disarray looking at their offense struggling, but it also gave me some hope looking at how well Penn State's defense played, because I think that our offense played a lot better than Illinois did.
Yeah, I do too. I think we did too. So, we can't do crossovers. We can't look at Illinois and Penn State and compare that to the West Virginia and Penn State. And I know this. You can't really do that. But at the same time, you can see where we slacked and where they excelled, and where we excelled and where they slacked. We excelled a lot more places than Illinois did against Penn State. In my opinion, we did. So Otto, thanks for coming in. I don't know who Otto is. He says, was never a big NCAA fan, but now that we are a Mountaineer family with a freshman there, we are all in. Let's go Mountaineers. That's right. Heck yeah. I mean, hey, look, we have got some really, really good running backs in the backfield. And we have a decent quarterback. I like Garrett Green. I wish he was a little bit taller. That's my only downfall to Garrett Green. 5'9", trying to look over offensive linemen that are 6'4", and defensive linemen that are 6'4" coming at him in a rush, and he's 5'9". Maybe he doesn't see down the field like he should, but he's got the feet to get out of trouble. So that helps. Makes me wonder, is there a comparison to Garrett Green from the college football field over the last 15 years? I mean, he's not Pat White, obviously. He's not that fast. He's not that shifty. He's not Tebow, obviously. I mean, Tebow had his way. He reminds me a lot of, who was the quarterback for TCU in 2014?
Trevor Boykin.
Boykin, yeah. That's a lot who Garrett Green reminds me of. Not going to tear you up with his arm, but can make a throw. But man, them legs and getting out of trouble can get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And I think he just needs to learn our offense, like Trevon Boykin had to learn TCU's offense. Trevon Boykin wasn't real good in year one, if you think about it. And year two, he came out and started tearing it up. So I think Garrett Green reminds me a lot of him. Maybe a better arm, though.
Yeah, it's weird. See, his kind of stature and his athletic ability, it's really rare to none. And like I saw some examples in the comments, kind of relating to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was a lot faster and just a lot more of just like an overall gamer. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. And not game, like athletically, he was just like a different animal. That's all I mean by gamer. But it's weird though, because Garrett Green, he gives me these Tim Tebow vibes. Not the size or stature or physical ability, but just the way he approaches the game. He's all in, and he wants his team to win. No matter what, he will put his body on the line. He will put himself on the line to win the game. And he has that same emotion that Tim Tebow played with game in and game out. It's that same type of, I don't know how to explain. You see it when you see it. Yeah. Right? You see it on the field. You don't have to, it's hard to explain. You just see it. And he has that winning ability,
Yeah, and Level Up Highlights agrees with you. And I agree with you. I agree with you too. And here's the good thing about that. I think that, heaven forbid, should Garrett Green go down with an injury, we've got a backup in Nico Marchio who's exactly the same. That will come in there and give his heart, and he's going to make that first down. He's going to struggle and strain to get there, and not care about his body.
Yeah,
just get there and do it.
Yeah, no, and Nico's the same way. I mean, he's a young kid. He might not be as ready, to control or to be a leader, to run the offense. but you can tell he loves West Virginia, and he will do what he can do to help us win, right?
Yeah.
He's happy right at this point, at least. He's happy. He's okay with being a backup at this point. Now, next year it might change, but he knows his place, and ultimately, I think that he's more important. He's more interested in West Virginia winning the game, which is a big deal.
Here with you for the Backyard Brawl. Countdown to the Backyard Brawl. Kickoff 7:30. And I'm excited. This is a big game. It's a big game anytime it's played. Backyard Brawl. We love this rivalry. A lot of people talk about rivalries with West Virginia, and they talk about Virginia Tech, another big rivalry for the Black Diamond Trophy. They talk about Maryland. That's more of a measuring stick for me. If we can beat Maryland, that kind of tells me we'll have a decent season. And if we don't beat Maryland, we're in for a bad season, which was the case, just a couple years ago. I like Pitt though, because Pitt's never really a measuring stick. We can beat Pitt and still have a bad season, and we can destroy Pitt and still have a bad season. So I like the Backyard Brawl because it's always just two teams battling it out. Both of them think they should win the game, and that's what's good about it. I want to play a couple of clips. I played these clips a little bit earlier. I want to play them one more time because, Nick, you wasn't here, and I want you to hear them. They're about 30 seconds long. There's two of them, all right? About 30 seconds long. Here we go. Here's the first clip.
Right now, 60% of the bets are on West Virginia. I am running a poll for people who are watching live. 61% of the people watching also favor West Virginia.
Okay.
The sharps are on West Virginia. Again, the people who pay the bills with these bets are on West Virginia, which means obviously I'm staying with Pitt.
Yeah.
I am going against the public and against the people who supposedly know what they're doing. This is probably my last ride with the Pitt Panthers this summer.
I got to say, they were a lot better than I thought they were. And I think against this Pitt offense, which I was really not impressed with against Cincinnati, I think they're really gonna have no problem whatsoever. We know one thing about playing in Morgantown. I've been to a lot of college football stadiums, and I got to say, this is one of the tougher buildings out there, man. This is not a place where you want to be the visiting team. That's for sure. I'm going to take West Virginia in this one, and that's going to be my free pick.
Great pick, Mitch. Great pick.
I'll tell you what.
I watch Mitch. I watch Mitch every year, and I have to say I don't necessarily always go with his picks and stuff, but I like Mitch. Mitch's good. Mitch's a good guy, and he's picking West Virginia in this, and I like that. I like what he says. West Virginia is a tough environment. It's a tough environment for anybody to come into. I don't care who you are. In a few years, in 2027 and 28, Alabama is going to be in Morgantown. Can you imagine that atmosphere when Alabama is in Morgantown? But back to the Backyard Brawl. I don't know if there's any atmosphere in college football that compares to the Backyard Brawl in West Virginia. And I'm like Mitch, man. I've been to a lot of stadiums. West Virginia's a tough place to win. It's a very tough place to win. There's teams that come in here. Look at Baylor back in, what was it, I think it was 2014. We was talking about TCU a while ago, 2014. Baylor came in number 4 in the nation. West Virginia was not projected to be a very good team that year, and we weren't a fantastic team. I don't remember what our final record was. We went to a bowl and everything, but we weren't near as bad as we're projected to be this year. And Baylor came in ranked number 4 in the nation with a fiery offense that could score 60 on anybody, and we shut them down. And that was the home crowd. That was the crowd that did that. The crowd caused them to have a lot of penalties, caused them to make a lot of mistakes. And I look at this year's team. We went to Happy Valley and only had 5 penalties. That's amazing. I don't even know how many we had last week, but it wasn't many, 2 or 3 penalties last week. There wasn't hardly any penalties. So we got a good, sound, fundamental team that's following the rules and following the rules of football and hitting hard and playing hard, but within the legal limits of football. And I like that. I like that a lot. So if we can come out of this game, this is my keys to the game. Number 1, keep the penalties under 7. No more than 7 penalties this game, and I think we can win it. Number two, we've got to get a turnover. We need a turnover in this game. I don't care if it's a fumble, an interception, a punt, a fumble on a punt return, or they muff a punt or whatever. We need to get the ball back and score and get it up on them right there. And number three, a big key to this game, I think, is our running backs. I think our running backs, we need to top 200 yards. We need to get over 200 yards between our running backs on the running game, and I think we take down Pitt.
Yeah, I definitely think a big key is taking care of the football and taking care of simple things like penalties and stuff like that, things you can control. If you can do all the things that you can control, I think that we have a better chance overall of beating this Pitt team. Now, I think you're going to want to look at between the tackles, especially within the A gaps. I think it was like Cincinnati, 70% of their production in the run game was within those A gaps, 70%, which means that they ran the ball up their throat the whole game, and Pitt did not have an answer for it. Well, guess what? We have a buddy called Zach Frazier, a homegrown West Virginia boy, a corn-fed baby. He's going to run wild and set the tone for this game, and we're going to run right off his butt the whole game. And
yeah, Zach Frazier, without a doubt, one of the best centers in the country, going to be in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. Probably first or second round draft pick, I would think. But on top of that, we've got a very stout offensive line. I mean, just the stout offensive line. We pushed Penn State around, guys. I mean, go back and watch that game. Penn State's defensive line was on their heels all day long. Our offensive line controlled it.
We got cute in that game. We did.
We got cute in that game, and it cost us. But our offensive line was controlling that game. And if we would have just kept the ball on the ground, we probably could have scored again. I don't think we could have won the game. I'm not saying that, but I think we could have scored again, keeping the ball on the ground and just playing our game. But like Nick said, we got kind of cute. So I'm excited. I am so excited. We have so many people up in Morgantown. Let me tell you something, guys. So we have Mrs. Pete. Everybody knows Pigskin Pete, right? So Mrs. Pete's in Morgantown right now. She's been texting me back and forth and stuff. No service, cannot call in because all the lines are jammed up there, as you can imagine. So then we got Frank Fear, who I sent to his seat a while ago, who was able to get through and talk to us. But now he's at his seat, cannot get in. So we'll hope Frank gets back with us at a later date. But we also have Jordan Cruz and the whole crew from Country Roads Webcast. If you guys aren't subscribed to Country Roads Webcast right here on YouTube, they do our post-game show right here on the Voice of College Football. They won't be on doing it tonight. They're going to be at the Backyard Brawl, and so I'm going to do the post-game tonight. But hopefully they will join in with us during the post-game, and hopefully they can join in with us tonight here in the next 15 minutes, because we're only going to be on here about another 15 minutes. And, I hope anybody in Morgantown that can join on with us will. I'd like to see the crowd. Well, I can tell you right now, Frank Pierce showed us a while ago. There's a lot of tailgating going on in Morgantown. They might only get that stadium might say it only holds 60,000. There'll be a lot more than 60,000 there. It'll probably be 65,000, and there's probably another 20,000 out in the parking lot. So,
yeah, the RVs, they started rolling up late Thursday night at the Coliseum. I saw a pic Friday morning. The whole entire Coliseum parking lot full of RVs.
Yeah.
And the tailgating and at the hospital started filling up, man, early Friday morning.
Yeah.
I think we're all ready to go. There's not enough beer to be drunk left, right? We drank all the beer. It's time to go into the stadium soon.
Yeah. I remember I took my son. Let's see. Let me think of what year it was. 2006 or 7, maybe. We went to an East Carolina game. No, it wasn't East Carolina. Oh no, we was playing a Division III team, just some, like I don't know who it was, but we'll just say like Duquesne or something. Anyway, I took him to the game, and he was sitting there on the sidelines with me. We're not on the sidelines, but in the stadium. And we was playing on about the 40-yard line and maybe about 5 rows back from the field. So we had really good seats. And he was looking at the players for Duquesne or whoever it was. He was like, wow, them some big boys. Them some big guys. I don't know. We were liable to get beat. I said, oh, my God, them guys ain't big. You ain't seen nothing yet. Well, West Virginia came out on the field, and he said, holy crap, them guys are going to get killed.
Yeah.
And sure enough, first play, I think whoever was playing, they had a broken leg, and then the next play they had like a broken arm. And I told him, I said, yeah, this is not going to be a very fun game. I think at halftime it was 49-0. West Virginia was winning, and we bailed out of there. But I'll tell you what, he had such a great time in Morgantown that he still talks about it to this day. Now, he was just I think 11, 12 years old then, maybe then, maybe 11, 12. And he had such a great time that he still talks about it today. Can't wait to go back to a game and talks about it all the time. So I'm hoping he gets to go back. But I think he just loved the girls. I think he just liked the Mountaineer girls up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of going up there, man. A lot of them college girls.
Man, it's a party town, It is.
It is. I swear.
It is a party town, and you know what? It doesn't. Here's what I love about Morgantown. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter if you're 21 or my age. You go up there and you go and hang out with all of them and want to party and have some fun. Hey, you're just one of the guys. You're just right.
Oh.
You're just part of the family.
Yep.
Hang out and party with us. That's fine. We ain't putting you down. We ain't talking about your age. We don't care. Come and party with us. And it's always a lot of fun, man. That's what I love about Morgantown.
Because I went there last time I was up there. It was the Texas game. I think 2019, I believe. And that was the game we won. It was like late November. Yeah, dude, it was. Of course, I was going downtown, party and whatnot after the game. And it was just hilarious. You saw, because this was, November, a lot of the kids were going home, so their parents were there to pick them up. And, the parents, there were so many parents that were at those bars, getting drunk and getting, partying, carrying on. And it showed what, Morgantown's all about. A lot of the parents, it was almost like a homecoming, even though it wasn't. They all came back and, they were all partying and hanging out. And yeah, it's a good time for everybody, man, especially when football season comes around, man. It's something to behold.
Now, let me say something to all Mountaineer fans out there, and no, there ain't very many people in here, but that's okay because we're can spread. Hey, guess what? It was after the backyard brawl back in the 70s that Bobby Bowden lost to Pitt, and there were West Virginia fans knocking on Bobby Bowden's door, telling him to get shit out of Morgantown, and it wasn't a pretty scene in Morgantown that year. It never is when you lose to Pitt. But Bobby Bowden was on the hot seat already, and things were not looking good in Morgantown. Hey, you know what? Bobby Bowden went on to build a dynasty at Florida State. He didn't have no better of a record than Neil Brown, really. I mean, he didn't. He was trying to build something at West Virginia, so he said. But he seen the writing on the wall when he couldn't build it, and he left and went to Florida State and built a dynasty. They listened to him. Maybe, not saying we should, but maybe we need to give Coach Brown some consideration here and just say, okay, he's building something special. He's building for the future. Hey, Don Neyland didn't have that greatest seasons either at the beginning. I mean, he wasn't as bad as Neil Brown, but, we had a lot better players for him coming into it than Neil Brown had, obviously. Now, Neil Brown was left the gutter, so to speak. So I don't want to put Neil Brown down, but here's the thing about it is if we don't win this game, wow, I tell you what, it's going to be I don't know how Neil Brown can go on coaching, honestly, because the fans, if the fans tore up Bobby Bowden after a loss to Pitt, I could only imagine the fan base right now and how upset they are at Neil Brown if he loses to Pitt tonight, what it's going to be like to be in his shoes. And I could not imagine that.
Yeah, I would not want to be him if he loses tonight. I think, and I think he's smart enough to understand it. It's time, if he lose, it's time to get out of town. I mean, like, I don't know how much more, and it's not like, look, we've given him chances after chances. It's not like we're not the bad guys here. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's clear, especially if he loses in the atmosphere that we're going to have tonight, and Pittsburgh being on the down, West Virginia having some pieces and having what we need. What I mean is what we need to beat Pitt. We have the guys that we need to beat Pitt. I'm not saying that we have the guys to go on a run or to win the Big 12. We have what we need to take care of business tonight. And if we do not win, it shows a lack of coaching. It shows that we do not have the guy to lift us up and push us and to get us through these games. And this is big boy football, baby. I mean, you can't, you only get so many chances, and that's with anything. I mean, you come to work, your boss tells you, hey, you need to show up on time. You keep showing up late. You need to start showing up early. You need to start showing up on time. Well, if you continue to show up late, it doesn't matter how good of an employee you are. You keep showing up late and you're not showing up on time, you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
And that's what we have here. So
Otto says, I fear they'll burn the town down. They won't need any burning couches. And that's the truth. If Neil Brown loses tonight, don't worry about burning couches. Worry about burning down Morgantown. And I hate that. I mean, I really do. It's our college town. We love West Virginia. We love Morgantown. We love the Mountaineers and stuff. And I like Neil Brown. I really do. I think he's a great guy. He's probably one of our better coaches we've ever had in history, Sunday through Friday. And then he gets in the game on Saturday and somehow forgets that he's a coach, and calls stupid stuff and does stupid things. He has our players ready to play every week. I don't down him on that at all, because them players come out, they're fired up. Hey, look, generally the first series down the field, we score. Generally the first series, we hold them to 3 and out, or sometimes maybe 6 and out or something, but we hold them. And that tells me the players are ready. They're prepared. They're fired up. They're ready to play. It's always the coaching during the game that cost us games. It did it every game last year we lost. Kansas, Pitt, Kansas at TCU. Every game we lost last year could be directly related to coaching. It had nothing, and coaching that day on Saturday. Nothing about coaching through the week. Nothing about our recruits. Nothing about our players. It was all coaching on the field. So Neil Brown needs to show us something today. I think he's a great coach. I really do. I think Neil Brown's a great coach. I think he's going to have some great success somewhere. And I hope it's Morgantown. I hope he wins this game. And hell, I hope we win every game the rest of the season. Not likely, but let's say we can win. We can go 7-5 or 8-4. Hey, I'll be happy with Neil Brown. We can go 7-5, 8-4. I'll be happy. I'll be like, okay, we've got it going now. Let's keep this going. That'll be fine with me. But I'm not going to be happy with 6-6 or 5-7. So
yeah, look, see, don't get it twisted. I might talk my trash about Neil Brown, and there's a lot of things that I would do differently as a coach, and that's to be expected. But trust me, there is nobody that's rooting for Neil Brown more than I am. I want this guy to succeed, and the people that are talking about they want us to lose to Pitt, So
Yeah.
Neil Brown gets fired. You're not a real fan. I'm sorry. You need to take that gold and blue off your back right now because you're not a real fan. We don't want you here.
I'll send you some Marshall gear. I'll send you some Marshall gear.
Yes,
Just
that's
take the gold blue off, and I'll send you some green.
ridiculous. I swear, you do never root against your own team, especially not against your arch rival. Right?
No.
Things don't work out with Neil Brown. That's fine, but I do not want it to be because Pitt beat us.
Right.
I mean, imagine the satisfaction. Imagine what we would hear constantly. Oh, well, we beat you so bad you fired a coach. We beat you so bad you fired a coach. I'm not hearing that. I don't want to hear that. I want Neil Brown to go to the national. I want Neil Brown. If Neil Brown succeeds, that means we succeed, right?
Hey, and what you said right there might save Neil Brown because Western University is going to realize that too. That if they fire Neil Brown after this game, if we lose, then that's going to give Pitt the upper edge in future backyard brawls to say, hey, we beat y'all so bad y'all fired the coach. Yeah. Now, they don't remember Walt Harris in those days. I mean, you probably don't remember Walt Harris either. I mean, but Walt Harris would stand on the sidelines crying he was getting beat so bad. West Virginia would be beating Pitt so bad. I mean, I remember one year it was like 41-14 or something like that. And they put the cameras over on Walt Harris, and I mean, his head was down, and it literally looked like he was crying on the sidelines. It wasn't long after that he was fired. So, yeah, we got a Pitt coach fired. He couldn't beat West Virginia. I don't think Walt Harris ever beat West Virginia. Matter of fact, got his butt stomped quite a bit. So, you know, they say turnabout's fair play. Well, I don't want turnabout. I want Neil Brown to win this game. Bottom line, period. I don't want this game to even be close. I don't want this game to ever be in question. I want us to come out and score first drive. I want us to score second drive, third drive, and Pitt not even cross the 50-yard line yet. That's what I want. So, I want a repeat of the Sugar Bowl from Georgia in 2006 when we went up 28-0 after one quarter. That's what I want.
Too much. Georgia scored too much after that.
Yeah. I don't want the same results. I want to beat Pitt by 28. I don't want to have a close game at the end.
I hate Pitt. That's all I gotta say. I hate Pitt.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we got about 3 minutes. I'm gonna have to get it. I'm gonna hear it. Final score. Give me your prediction.
Hey, look. So I didn't want to do this. This might be too optimistic. I know it. But I just see some matchup issues. I'm not saying West Virginia's a world beater. I see some matchup issues in favor of West Virginia. Think we exploit it. I hope I'm not jinxing us here, but I see us going. I see it being 42-27.
I love it. I love it. Man, if we could score 42 points, that'd be really good against that Pitt defense. Because hey, let's face it, Pat Narduzzi, he's got some good defense. So, I don't see us scoring that much. I do have us winning the game. I say 31-17, 31-21, 34-21, somewhere in that area.
Either way, man. Either way.
Hey, listen, I don't care if the final score is 10-9 and West Virginia wins. We won. So, hey.
Sure.
All right, so after the game, come back right here on West Virginia football, Du Bois College football. We're going to have a post-game show. Nick, you going to join me for the post-game?
Yeah, I'll be around. Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. So Nick's going to join me. We'll have Frank Peer. Hopefully we can have Jordan Cruz and all the crew from West Virginia podcast. Maybe Dale Whipley if he's out of bed at that time. But I'll have to call Dale. But I doubt he'll watch the game and go to bed. I know Whipley. I know Wolfman. He'll go to bed. But maybe I can reach out to Eugene Napoleon or somebody and maybe get a couple of former players in here with us as well. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's kind of last minute, but hey, come back, join us after the game. Nick, got any final words?
Hey, go Mountaineers. I know we're monetized, so I can't say the latter, but eat S Pitt. I leave it at that.
That's right. I'll say it. Eat shit Pitt. All right.
Okay. Eat shit Pitt.
Eat shit Pitt.
All right. We're good.
Hey, we'll see everybody after the game. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later. Everyone, have a great game. Let's go, Mountaineers.
Let's go, baby.